The obsidian towers of the Dragon Emperor's palace pierced the crimson sky like the fangs of some ancient beast. Within its highest chamber, Prince Kelthar lay motionless on a platform of carved moonstone, his iridescent scales catching the light of twin suns. His wings, magnificent even in their stillness, spread uselessly across the floor, beautiful, powerful, and utterly useless. The physicians had declared it a genetic anomaly. The priest called it a curse. The court whispered that the Dragon Emperor's bloodline had finally weakened. Whatever the cause, the result remained unchanged. The heir to the greatest empire in the galaxy could neither walk nor fly. Kelthar had stopped counting the specialists who had examined him. Vryn surgeons with their neural recalibrators, Asterian mystics who chanted over crystalline arrays. Even the mechanists from the Forge Worlds had offered to replace his limbs with cybernetics. His father, Emperor Vorthax, had refused them all. "My son will be whole or he will be nothing," the Emperor had declared, his voice shaking the very foundations of the palace. So Kelthar remained. Not nothing, but not whole either. Something in between. A prince who would never rule. A dragon who would never soar. The day Amelia Hart arrived, Kelthar didn't even look up. Another servant, another pair of pitying eyes. He'd learned to ignore them all. "Your Highness," a voice said, accented but clear. "I'm told you take your morning nutrition at this hour." Kelthar's golden eyes shifted toward the doorway. The human was small, absurdly so by dragon standards, with dark hair pulled back in a practical bun. She wore the simple gray uniform of palace staff, and she looked at him with neither pity nor reverence, just curiosity. "Leave it on the table," Kelthar said, his voice rough from disuse. "Can't do that." "Your Highness?" Amelia stepped into the room carrying a tray. "Physical therapist back on Earth taught me that immobile patients need engagement during meals. Keeps the mind active. I am not a patient. I am a prince. You're both." She set the tray beside him, then did something unprecedented. She sat down on the edge of his platform, cross-legged and entirely too casual. Prince Kelthar, diagnosed with neural pathway degradation affecting motor control, 23 years old. Hasn't left this room in 7 years. Kelthar's scales rippled with irritation. "You've read my medical files." "I've read everything. That's why I applied for this position." Amelia picked up a piece of crystallized fruit from the tray and held it out to him. "The thing is, Your Highness, I don't think anyone's been asking the right questions." Despite himself, Kelthar was intrigued. He took the fruit with his telekinetic abilities, one of the few powers that still worked. And what questions should they be asking? Not "why can't you move?" But what's stopping the signals from getting through? Amelia pulled a small device from her pocket, something primitive by galactic standards. On Earth we had a case, a girl named Sarah Chen, paralyzed from the neck down after an accident. Doctors said it was permanent. And they were looking at it wrong. It wasn't that the pathways were destroyed, they were blocked. Micro-inflammatory responses creating interference. Amelia's eyes gleamed with an intensity that reminded Kelthar of his father during battle councils. "We developed a treatment. Combination of targeted neural stimulation and specialized physical therapy." Sarah walked again in 18 months. "Humans," Kelthar said slowly, "are not dragons." "No," Amelia agreed. "But neurons are neurons. Signals are signals. And stubbornness," she smiled, "that's universal." Over the following weeks, Amelia became a constant presence. She brought strange human equipment modified with dragon technology. She spent hours mapping Kelthar's neural pathways with a patience that exhausted him. And she talked endlessly about Earth, about humans, about a species that had clawed its way up from a single planet to claim their place among the stars. "We're not the strongest," she said one day, carefully placing electrode patches along Kelthar's spine. "Not the smartest, not the fastest. But we're persistent. We don't know when to quit." "Perhaps that's foolishness rather than virtue," Kelthar replied, though his tone had lost its edge. "Maybe." Amelia activated the device. Kelthar felt a tingling sensation spread through his wings. "But foolishness got us to the stars. Got me here trying to help a dragon prince who everyone else has given up on." "I haven't given up," Kelthar said quietly. "I know." Amelia looked at him, and for the first time in years, Kelthar didn't feel like a broken thing. "That's why this is going to work." The breakthrough came on a night when both moons hung full in the sky. Kelthar had been practicing the exercises Amelia designed. mental visualizations combined with micro-movements, building new neural pathways one synapse at a time. It was exhausting, frustrating work, but Amelia was always there, encouraging, adjusting, refusing to let him quit. "Try again," she said, for perhaps the 1000th time. "Focus on your right wing." Not lifting it, just feeling it. Kael'thar closed his eyes, diving deep into his own nervous system. He imagined the signals racing down pathways that had been dark for years. He visualized the muscles responding, the wing, it moved, just a tremor, a tiny shift of membrane and bone. But it moved. Amelia's gasp was loud in the quiet room. "Again. Do it again." Kael'thar tried, and this time the wing lifted half an inch off the ground before falling back. Tears, actual tears, streamed down his scaled face. "We did it," Amelia whispered. "We actually did it." "No," Kael'thar said, opening his eyes to look at her. "You did it." A human did what an entire empire could not. The recovery was slow. Months of work followed that first twitch. But progress once started became unstoppable. Kael'thar learned to shift his weight, then to rise on his forelegs. His wings grew stronger daily, and through it all Amelia was there, pushing him harder than anyone had dared, believing in him when he couldn't believe in himself. The day Kael'thar walked into his father's throne room unaided, the entire court fell silent. Emperor Vorthax rose from his throne, his massive form trembling. "My son," he breathed. "Father." Kael'thar stood straighter, his wings spreading behind him. "I have someone you should honor," he gestured, and Amelia stepped forward, looking impossibly small among the assembled dragons. "This human," Kael'thar declared, his voice carrying through the chamber, "achieved what none of our greatest minds could." She saw not a hopeless case but a challenge. She brought not pity but determination. She is living proof of why humanity has earned their place among the stars. Emperor Vorthax descended from his throne and, in a gesture that would be recorded in history, bowed his great head to the human maid. "Rise, Amelia Hart," he said, "and know that the Dragon Empire is forever in your debt." But Amelia was looking at Kael'thar, and in her smile he saw not pride in her accomplishment, but joy in his victory. 3 months later, when Prince Kael'thar took his first flight in over 7 years, soaring above the palace on wings that finally worked, Amelia watched from the courtyard below. And in that moment she understood what humanity's real strength had always been. Not that they never gave up on themselves, but that they never gave up on others. Even when everyone else already had.